added a suggestion of shadow under all three of my baubles, rather just sort of broadly done. And what I'm going to do now is just work into this little one here. I like them as line drawings, but I want to enjoy some of the blue of this bauble, so I'm going to work into it a bit and see how I go. So I've pulled out a selection of blue colour pencils. I might find that I want to add some green or purple or grey or perhaps a bit of yellow as well. But let's begin with just, again, working quite swiftly, loosely. To begin with, I might tighten things up later. Adding some colour, and in doing that, perhaps a suggestion of reflection as well. So I might put this all around and then go over it. Oh, I've got those lovely little areas of light. I've got my ceiling lights being reflected. Let's put those in. Now, if I go over those, I might have to get hold of a white pen and reinstate them. But that'll be okay. That grey outline I've just done with these little dots, probably not the best thing, but we'll work around it. A bit like last month's film, you know, if you do something you're not too keen on, don't worry, just see if you can figure out a way to change it. There will be a way. Now then, here we go, I'm putting in a curve just like we did at the very beginning. Because the reflection I can see in this bauble is all curves really. Even I can see the table that I'm leaning on, which is this shape here. Even that's got curved edges. A little bit of darkness under here. Join those up. That gets darker. And then in here it's much darker. I've switched to a blue-grey colour to try and put this little cap in because it's made of metal. It's a different material. What can I use to help it look like I'm using look like it's a different material? Whoops. But you can still see the inside of the bauble going into it. Let's see this drawing slowly sort of sharpening up, tightening up, I think. I hope. I'm not being afraid to use different materials for a bit more clarity. Come back to the lead pencil, a bit of sharpness. Get my dark blue again. That curve isn't quite as curved as I'd like it to be. It is what I can see. I have almost obliterated my little highlights from my lights, but never mind. Now then, I want this colour to look a bit more solid, this paler blue. I've added a little bit of lead pencil onto that shadow area and smudged it out a bit. And then I've used a 6B for that, and I'm carrying on with my 6B and adding just some darkness around here, because when I look at the bauble, it's actually quite dark, and it's quite dark in here as well, a bit darker, dark around the edge. And then also it's darker inside. The next challenge after this would be to draw the baubles on the tree, which is something that I also like to do. And what I really like also is when the shadows of the tree on the wall. I love that, and I try and draw that sometimes. So I've just used this gel pen, recently acquired white gel pen, to put some of those little dots of highlight back in because I'd kind of lost them. And I think I'll try and go over them again because they're not really showing up as much as I would like to. I'm just waiting for them to dry. They're not quite dry. I'll just wait a little bit longer. But in the meantime, what I've noticed is that the highlight on my bauble is shining a kind of very bright blue rather than a white. So I'm going to try and knock back the highlight with this kind of turquoisey blue, just lightly. And I'm not sure that these highlights are in quite the right place. So I'm not sure that they're entirely working, but we'll keep going. I think that's improved things actually. They're still the lightest thing, lighter than anything else. And also there is a little bit of blue in the shadow. Try and keep that going the same direction. And there's a kind of lighter area in the shadow inside here. So I might, because I'm kind of here, so I might rub some of that out. I'll try and rub some of it out anyway. Just bought a new rubber. Let's see if this works a bit. Oh yeah, it does a bit. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think that looks better. I think that helps us to know that this is a glass object, a glass bauble, hopefully. I'll just clean up around the outside of that shadow a bit as well. I've just worked on it a little bit more, and you might notice that I've coloured over that reflection that my ring light was creating on the surface of the bauble. I think I just made, it was the wrong shape. I hadn't drawn it, you know, very carefully in the first instance, and I didn't think it was really working. So I've scribbled it out, well, I've coloured it in, and also I have tried to darken up this area here because I think it does need to be a bit darker. Perhaps these need to be a bit smaller. Whoops, maybe not quite that small. And the angle's maybe not quite right. I am looking at my bauble as I'm doing this. I've also added a little bit of shadow underneath the string. Let's just do that there, I think. And I've got a fine liner black pen, and I've started to just use it just to sharpen up some of this detail around where the little kind of cap is, because I don't think it's reading particularly well at the moment. So I've used it on that little loop, that little metal loop. I mean, it's a different material to the glass, so it won't hurt to try and suggest that by using a different material. I've just taken the edge off, corner off there very slightly, because they are a bit rounded. So now I'm trying to just tighten up this drawing, slightly in danger of overworking it, but I just want it to work a little bit better than it is at the moment. A few hatching lines. So I'm trying things out, and if I think they work, all well and good. If I don't think they work, I'll do something about it. You know, I'll stop doing it, or I'll change tactic, change technique, change material, change tool. The other thing that I know that I've done is that I'm using a paper that's got quite a grain on it, quite a tooth, and so I'm having to press quite hard with my colour pencils to create a solid colour and to kind of obliterate some of that tooth where I need to. On this particular drawing, if I do another one, was to do another one, I might make that just lighter overall. I'll use a lighter touch overall, but because I've gone in quite heavy, I think that I'm going to carry on that idea. There's a little bit of light just in there. That's helped. I think I might leave that one there now. Okay, so I'm going to have a play with this drawing here. I'm going to work into it a little bit more, but I'm going to try and keep it a lighter touch than I did that one. So this is my bauble. It's quite tricky because it's got stripes and see-through areas, stripes that I can see underneath, and lots of glitter. So I might not be able to render the glitter particularly, but let's just put start with a little bit of colour. I quite like this drawing. It's nice and loose, so I'll try and keep this drawing loose as well. Well, keep the rest of the process loose. Reflections everywhere again. Well, that's probably helped already. Help this look a bit spherical. and I can see areas of highlight. So let's have a think. What I might do is I'm using my 6B pencil very lightly on those gaps. Probably should have used a direction more like that, because it's kind of echoing the curve of the bauble. Yeah, I'm using my 6B and I'm using it very flat because I don't want any sharp lines particularly. Let's make it go inside there as well. And then I'm going to get my rubber out, rub out across those stripes. I don't particularly want it there. And then those areas of highlight are like, it's the reflections that of the windows that I can see again. There's one there, they're next to each other. You might need a bit more contrast than that, I think. So I quite like the effect of using the lead pencil and then rubbing out the highlights, but I decided to make it all a bit stronger. So I went over my lead again with another couple of layers, and then I switched to using this another new rubber, which is a bit harder and has got a sharper edge, which meant I could sort of just have a little bit more control over those, creating those shapes. And I'm going to use this rubber also to remove, if I can, if it works, some of the colour in the shadow, because I can see now that, a bit like this one, there's areas of light and dark on the shadow that I didn't really pick up on before. And that's partly to do with having the stripes on the bauble itself. Maybe I'll go back to my soft one. I'm scared of just making a smudgy mess with my rubbing out. Maybe. Excuse me, let's get the fine liner pen out again. Very, very lightly and loosely, because like I said, I quite like the loose drawing, the style of drawing that I've got already. But I just want to bring a bit of clarity to things. This little cap has got a bit of decoration on it, which I'm attempting to put in, just generalising with it a little bit. And I think things are a little bit darker in here. just working into the shadow a bit more, because I think that from what I can see, the shadow falling onto the table is a bit bluey. That's probably something to do with the time of day. And also there's tiny areas of shadow underneath parts of the string. This bauble, like I said, it's very glittery on its stripes. I don't have any kind of glittery pens or anything, but I do feel like I want to try and render something of the texture of these glittery stripes. So I've got a slightly darker green, and I am just going for it with lots of little dots. And now I'm going to swap to a fine felt tip pen, because actually now I'm looking, I can see that these stripes go into shadow as well. So I'm just wondering if I can help create this sense of 3D by making the stripes a bit darker here and there with this little dotty technique. Very time consuming. I think this little dotty technique is adding something, but I'm going to switch to a grey so there's a bit more contrast. Where there is a highlight here, so I'm going to try and avoid that, and where there's not quite as much shadow, I'm going to spread my dots out a little bit more. I think that's working. I might not, or must try not to overdo it. I'm just using a soft brown, pale brown pencil just to darken up these stripes, because I think that the highlight is working okay, but I still want it to feel like it's a little bit more like it's kind of, you know, spherical. Just feel that that's not quite there yet, but at the same time I don't want to overwork it. I'm using a light touch, and I'm allowing the white of the paper to show through more this time. That's its kind of natural property, so I'm thinking let's just use it. and not obliterate it like I did in the other one. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave that there. This is quite a nice loosely drawn bauble, and a much more worked into one there, but all done with colour pencil and a little bit of felt tip pen, fine liner pen, slightly mixed media. Oh, and yes, lots of fun using these ones to begin with as well. So what I think I could do on this page is finish this one, perhaps work into those original drawings that I did, and draw more baubles and fill a page with them, and perhaps even colour in those just line drawings that we did first of all as well. So thank you very much for watching, for taking the time to follow the process, the creative process that I was undertaking. I hope that you feel inspired to just take a few moments, if you can, to enjoy your Christmas baubles when you get them out, and to explore them and to draw them in any of those ways that we've looked at, and you'll find other ways and other materials that you would like to use yourself, of course. I would just encourage you to keep drawing and keep experimenting. So thank you again for watching, and as you know, this is going to be the last video with this type of subscription, but I'll be doing more for YouTube in the new year, and I'll look forward to seeing you there. Thanks very much then, and happy Christmas.